This presentation is all about the dangers of lead paint in our homes and how we can get rid of it. I'm Bob Higgs with the Salt and Light Company of Burlington County. We're a nonprofit that helps people with special housing needs, and guess what? Everyone deserves to live in a safe and healthy home. Hey, let's chat about lead paint. Humans have been using this metal called lead for ages. It's pretty common in the ground and can be easily mined and shaped. The ancient Romans even made pipes out of lead to carry water. In fact, the word plumber comes from the Latin word for lead, plumbum. That's why the chemical symbol for lead is Pb. Lead has many uses, but it's important to be aware of its potential risks. Some homes have lead pipes that supply water. When the water is constantly moving, the danger is lower. However, it's still recommended to let the water run for at least 3 minutes before using it, especially if you have concerns about lead exposure. The best way to ensure complete safety is to remove the pipes altogether. Did you know that lead was even added to wine because it tastes sweet? It was also used in gasoline to make engines run smoother, and guess what? Lead is even added to paint to make it look better and last longer. But here's the catch. Small children sometimes end up eating lead paint that flakes off surfaces because it's sweet. Over a century ago, a dentist in Australia noticed some strange behaviors in children. He found high levels of lead in their baby teeth and concluded that lead was the problem, mostly coming from paint. Thanks to his efforts, lead was banned in Australia in 1918. However, the American lead industry was able to resist banning lead in paints until 1978. We started reducing the amount of lead in paint in the 1940s, but it was still legally available until 1978. Lead can easily get into your bloodstream. Flaking paint makes little chips. Lead dust is made when surfaces with lead paint rub together. It sticks to clothes like glue. People who work with lead have been known to bring it home, and their kids get lead poisoning just by hugging their parents. Lead can be found in the ground. There are old factories that were painted with lead paint, and now they're starting to crumble. The paint is even floating in the air around us, and guess what? Bridges are still painted with lead paint because it's so durable. So in a way, we really can't escape getting lead into our bodies. Lead is a toxic substance that enters the body and replaces calcium in our bones and teeth. Children, especially during their growth phase, are particularly vulnerable to lead exposure as it easily attaches itself to their bodies. Lead can have serious effects on the nervous system, leading to lower intelligence levels, ADHD, and other behavioral issues. In fact, over half the inmates in our jails have high levels of lead in their bloodstreams. For children, the damage caused by lead exposure is irreversible. Lead exposure during pregnancy can harm the fetus and cause high blood pressure and physical fatigue in adults. While lead levels can be reduced in adults, it's a long and painful process. Lead poisoning can be tricky to diagnose because its symptoms are similar to those of other illnesses. The only way to know for sure if you have lead in your body is to get a blood test. Now here's a short video about lead poisoning. It was originally made in Portland, Oregon, but don't worry, the information is just as relevant here.
I just was recently in a house just a few days ago with twin 1.5-year-old boys. When I got into the home and did the walkthrough, I did find in their bedroom literally marks on the windowsill of the boys' room. More often than not, it's not that actually that causes the child's exposure. I've done, about 75 investigations a year over the last 3 years, but in this case, it did actually end up being a direct chewing of a windowsill surface. pigments and whatnot can have a certain sweet quality to them, which is apparently one of the things that attracts children to them.
Children and adults can be exposed to lead if they're all living in the same house, but the children have a higher risk of getting toxicity from that. First of all, it gets absorbed a lot more than an adult does, and it gets absorbed more into the brain and nervous system. And their nervous system is still developing as well. So for all those reasons, they are at more risk of having damage.
Lead poisoning, while it may manifest in certain types of behaviors, they are very, very hard to distinguish.
Maybe just have impaired memory, short-term or long-term memory.
Excitable behavior, hyperactive or attention deficit.
Some hearing loss has been associated with that. But any damage that's been done to your brain or nervous system, that's irreversible.
Irreversible. New Jersey is famously known as the Garden State, but let's not forget that industry has always been a significant part of our economy. Remember the iconic Trenton Makes Bridge that symbolizes our past? In Camden, there used to be an old RCA factory on the waterfront that produced TVs. Unfortunately, the soil was heavily contaminated with various chemicals. We're all familiar with the Superfund program, which is dedicated to cleaning up these toxic substances. Despite our deep love for our home, we are unfortunately swimming in a toxic bath every day. Now, New Jersey is an older state, and we have lots of old houses here, especially in the cities. These houses were painted with lead paint, which is still there, and the lead paint is still getting into the bodies of children. That lead paint is hurting children. It affects behavior and school performance. It is a major reason why standardized test scores in urban schools are less than they are in suburban schools. City schools are full of lead-poisoned children. Look at the slide. Lead paint is by far the most common source of lead exposure for children. Each year, more than 4,800 children in New Jersey are diagnosed with high blood lead levels for the first time. Here's a quote. If you were going to put something in a population to keep them down for generations to come, it would be lead. Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha of Flint, Michigan said that well over 10 years ago. You might remember in Flint, Michigan, the city was contaminated because they ran their water through lead pipes. Hundreds and hundreds of people were affected by it, and still are. Look at the impact of lead poisoning. 7 times more likely to drop out of school. Kids with lead poisoning are 6 times more likely to be involved in the juvenile justice system. They are 30% more likely to fail 3rd grade reading and math tests. Lead exposure explains 37 to 76% of the racial disparities in educational test scores. These numbers are concerning. Lead poisoning is a real issue in Burlington County, and it's heartbreaking to think about the number of children who have been affected over the years. Lead paint is a common issue in Burlington County because most homes here were built before 1978 when lead paint was banned. In fact, over 20% of the homes in Burlington County were built before 1940 when lead paint was the only kind of paint available. The fact is, lead paint might be hiding in plain sight in our homes. Now, walls are usually painted with latex, but if lead was used, it was likely covered with multiple layers of latex. Take a look at this slide. Lead paint was commonly used in areas that saw a lot of wear and tear, like doorways, hallways, and staircases. It was durable, so places that were likely to get bumped, scraped, or kicked would have been painted with lead paint back then. So what's the plan? Removing all the lead from a home is a tough job, but we can definitely get a lot of it out. It's a pricey process, though, and not everyone can afford it. But hey, the dangers of lead paint in our homes are finally being recognized, and we can do something about it. In the mid-2010s, the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs launched the LRAP program. LRAP stands for Lead Remediation and Abatement Program. It started in cities like Trenton and Camden and quickly became a hit, making homes safer. Last year, New Jersey got a federal grant to expand LRAP because there are hundreds of thousands of homes in our state that need it. The Lead Remediation and Abatement Program is a fantastic initiative in New Jersey that helps reduce lead paint levels in homes. It's designed for families with specific income requirements and who live in single-family homes, duplexes, and small apartment buildings. The home must have lead paint detected and be in good shape. LRAP isn't meant to fix up the whole house. There are other programs for that. But if a family qualifies, the state will pay for all the costs of significantly reducing lead levels in the home. DCA has divided the task of providing lead paint services among over 30 agencies across the state. I work for the Salt and Light Company, and we're based in West Hampton. We cover properties all over the county. We reach out to municipalities, community organizations, churches, schools, and other places to let people know about our services. So here is how you can get into the LRAP program. If your home was built before 1978, it might have lead paint. If your household income is less than 80% of the median for Burlington County, we can come and inspect your home for lead paint. By the way, in Burlington County, if you have a family of 4, your household income has to be less than $91,000. We will work with you to gather all the necessary information. Someone from our company will visit your home to test for lead paint. We use a special device that can measure for lead without having to scratch surfaces or apply chemicals. If we find lead, we'll send a professional lead inspection company who will spend an hour or so testing every surface of your house. They'll send the report to a contractor who's certified by the state to work on lead paint issues, and they'll do the actual work. But at all times, our agency will be there to monitor progress and answer any questions or concerns that you may have. If you're interested, just scan the QR code on the screen or look for it on flyers. It'll take you to a short online form where you just need to give us your name, email, and phone number. We'll send you an email with all the details about the program, including a link to the DCA website where you can register. If you need any help filling out the form, just send us an email and we'll be happy to assist you. When you log into the DCA portal, you'll be needing to share some details about your home and your income. DCA will confirm to us that you've registered on their website. We'll double check that you provided all the necessary income information. Next, we'll send a friendly representative to do a quick check of your home for any lead paint. If there's no lead, we're done. But if we do find it, we'll send a professional lead inspector to your home. They'll take over 200 readings all over your place. Then we'll make a list for a contractor to come in and fix the lead. Remediation usually involves sanding down the paint to the bare wood for repainting it. Sometimes the paint can be just wet sanded to a few layers. If there's a lot of lead paint, entire windows or doors may need to be replaced. But, you might wonder, won't all that work make a lot of dust? Yes, it will. However, before the contractor starts sanding or removing, they'll put up a plastic curtain from top to bottom to keep the dust from entering your home. Whenever they finish an area, they'll vacuum it with a HEPA vacuum to get all the dust. Then, they'll move on to the next place they need to treat. In most cases, you can stay in the home while the contractors are doing their job. Most jobs take from 1 to 3 days. A few homes will get an abatement. It's more thorough than remediation, but it only happens if there's a child in the house with lead in their blood. The Department of Health does the testing. Abatements cover everything in the house, and families might have to move temporarily while the work is done. If we have to move your family, we'll cover the cost. Once all the work is complete, the contractor will make sure that all the work areas are spotless and vacuumed. Then the professional lead inspector will come and check the areas where the lead was found. If everything looks good, you can get a New Jersey Lead Safe certification. Our company, Salt and Light, has a grant from the DCA to help only 100 homes in Burlington County. Unfortunately, however, half the spots are already taken. I highly recommend you apply as soon as possible. Right now, we can only manage about 3 homes a week, so even if you do qualify, it might be several months before we can start working on your home. So there's only one thing left to do. Pause this video, scan the QR code, and you'll be all set to qualify for LRAP. Let's make Burlington County a little safer for our children. Thank you for your time.